Welcome to the Higher Energy Superpower. This is episode 15 of the Turbo Duo cast. I am your host, Salvatore Mata. I almost forgot what I was saying there.
You almost forgot your own name.
Yeah. And to my left is my brother from another game show lover, Trenton E. Wright the third.
It's like the planetarium.
I don't know what that's from.
South Park. You come to the planetarium. Where you said right, you know.
You know, I stopped watching that show after like the second season. So any references after that?
Well, that's all on you then.
I don't know what happened.
That's all on you.
Maybe it's because I'm so important.
That's definitely not it.
Who do you think would win in a fight, Perry Saturn or the Sega Saturn?
When they're both in their heyday?
Yeah.
Because they were probably in their heyday around the same time.
Around the same
like
time.
96?
95, 96, 97.
Saturn was at his prime.
Yeah. He used to wear like a cloak too, right? Wasn't that one of his looks where he would wear like a long
Marilyn Manson kind of style.
Yeah. Trench coat? Like a trench coat.
It was like a dress in a way. And it was like the I don't know, it was like the yeah, he looked like a Marilyn Manson kind of deal.
He had like the earring, the loop.
Yeah, he had that fucked up eye, you know.
Do you think he ever played one?
What, a Sega Saturn?
Yeah.
You would hope so, right? If Perry Saturn playing a Sega Saturn, like he'd be like the spokesperson for the Sega Saturn.
He was a WCW guy.
Yeah, then
right?
he went over when Chris Benoit, the Radicals.
Okay. Because I was gonna
Chris
say
Benoit, Eddie Di Malenko, Saturn.
There were no WCW wrestling games on the Saturn.
Oh yeah. They were probably better off because they sucked on the PlayStation.
They were terrible. I owned
except for WCW.
Was it Nitro?
WCW versus the World was the only good one.
Versus the World.
Yeah.
That's the one that I had.
Yeah, and then it was Nitro and Thunder, which were terrible.
Thunder was god awful, I thought.
Yeah, it was even worse. Somehow they made the game and then like we're gonna make it worse. You know how you thought that one was bad? Well, we're gonna make it like extra.
We're
bad.
gonna make it badder.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, Thunder wasn't as good as Nitro.
Yeah, that's like how it followed.
Yeah, they had to kind of follow.
Well, we can't make it better than Nitro.
Yeah, well,
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the sequel would have been like WCW Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And it just
just WCW Saturday night. Like
it would have just been two blocks of wood just smashing against one another.
Yeah. You can only play as Alex Wright.
Like palette swaps of Alex Wright.
Yeah, just in different
shorts.
Yeah.
Nice. Whenever I think of Perry Saturn, I think of on 83 Weeks how like Eric Bischoff talks about like the mid-level cards, this like stooge clown who's like ratting out information to Dave Meltzer.
You think that's Perry Saturn?
I'm just saying, like back in that era,
yeah.
I feel like Perry Saturn would have been that guy. Would have been like a kind of guy like that would wanted to be like pushed up into the upper echelon, and so he would feed information that might have been false or falsified information or rumor to Dave
rumor
Meltzer.
And innuendo.
Yeah. I feel like he would have. He's like the prototype for that mid-level card guy that could be. I'm not saying Perry Saturn ever did that. I'm just saying like. He was
on that level.
You know, like Lodi, like, you know, the Flock.
Well, let's not compare Saturn to Lodi.
I'm just saying, they were both in the Flock, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Love the Flock. Lodi, come back. Lodi.
Lodi rules with a Z.
Perry Saturn's like a cross between Mr. Clean and the W.B. Mason guy. Would you say?
That's fair.
Sort of. Although... most everybody beats him. So.
Yeah. This is where you get all your hot Perry Saturn talk. The only podcast.
Don't let me. I don't want to spill my Shinobi. A segue from that, we're going to be talking about Doom today, guys. I think we mentioned it last time. It's such an important game. I'm going to just say it as I say off top.
Yeah.
Off top.
Off the rip.
Doom is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece of a game. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's a masterpiece. When you play Doom, there's a transcendent experience that you have.
Damn, transcendent.
I think so. I think even today, when you play Doom, there's this like giddy feeling that you get when you play the game. I don't know if it's the sound, the atmosphere, everything all coalesces together.
Damn, you throwing all these big words out.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna take them as disrespect.
I mean, and certainly like the console ports aren't perfect. They're compared to the
all depends on which one you're playing.
The PC original, but it's the kind of game that defined a genre. You know, if you think like Super Mario Brothers, or you think Virtua Fighter, where these games
Mortal Kombat.
No. Street Fighter 2. Mortal Kombat. What genre did Mortal Kombat define?
What do you mean? What is Street Fighter?
Blood and guts in a 2D fighter?
Yes.
Okay. But it wasn't the first. It wasn't the first big game that did that. It was Street Fighter 2, right? All right, I'll give you your Mortal Kombat. I know, because you crushed me all the time.
But then you can say like Wolfenstein then.
Yeah, but Wolfenstein didn't take it to the same level. It's I know what you mean, but there were scrolling games before Super Mario Brothers, but Super Mario Brothers was the one that hit. You know what I mean? And so Doom is one of those games that defined a genre. It kind of was the coming out party for it, where things couldn't go back after that. Like once that game hit,
his own.
It was off to the races. You know what I mean? So it's such an integral and important game. So it's a masterpiece. Just a little PSA for all of our listeners again, because I like to reiterate this so that everybody kind of knows what our podcast is about and what we like to celebrate here on the Turbo Duo. We're not just another video game show. The purpose here.
We're completely different.
Well, I don't want to say we're completely different, but sort of the MO of our podcast is to reach back into our past to not just discuss about all games about gaming's history, but the games that we played in our gaming past, and being able to reach back and actually celebrate those formative years, that ignorance that you had when you were a kid, not only the games themselves, but what was going on at the time in your life. What are the memories that you have while you were playing these games as a kid, or maybe as a young adult, to take us back, right? To experience those memories for the first time, again. I've mentioned him before. There's a defunct podcast called Retro Blast, and the host was Anthony Norsha, and the way that he says it is it's sort of like we just kind of want to go back and wallow in the mud a little bit. You know what I mean?
Wallow in the mud. Who says that, huh?
he said it, and it's true. That's kind of what we're about here, is kind of going back and just enjoying our past and just remembering and, wallowing in the mud like a little, like a piglet,
I guess.
We tell stories about growing up. I think this podcast, if you're between the ages of, if you're in your mid-20s to mid-40s, I think this is right up your alley, because we're going to be talking about the games that you guys all grew up with, because we grew up with them too, and that's what we want to celebrate. So that's the Turbo Duo. Our fathers had classic cars. We have classic gaming. Cheers.
We win.
I mean, classic gaming's got to be better than classic cars, right? I mean, how much can you talk about classic cars?
Well,
you got the carburetor, you got the muffler,
you got the manifold.
This got fuel injection.
How many pistons?
Yeah, the speedometer. This one's got a bad, drum brake on the right side.
The chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's all there.
Trunk space.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe for somebody. Let's get into show notes.
Ooh.
We were talking about Vader last time, and I just had to look this up. So we were asking, like, where did Vader go to? So he went from the AWA. Listen to this.
Took a deep dive on Vader.
This is acronym city. He went from the AWA to the CWA to the NJPW to the IWGP.
Yeah, New Japan.
To the WCW to WWF to TNA to back to WWF or WWE at that time.
Yeah, he just came in like once.
So
did a one-off.
Yeah.
Actually, I was there when he came back for that one time.
Really? Was it
against Heath Slater, who just got fired? Yeah.
He just got fired?
Yeah.
Who else is getting fired?
They laid off they fired like 30 people the other day.
They don't have enough money coming in from the app?
Well, they do, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I was there in Hartford when they had Vader come back the one time. I think that was the last time. That was the last time he was in WWE, I believe. That was like 2013.
A sad Vader, like a sad, just washed up Vader.
No, he wasn't washed. He still. I mean, he was a little bit heavier though, but he's still.
Damn, heavier than he was before.
Yeah. He had a gut. He had like a bigger gut on him.
Jeez. Wow. Okay.
But he did his thing.
All right. Well, on the topic of Doom, it started to make me think. We talked about last time. We talked about the Punisher. We talked about Streets of Rage 3. We talked about Turok, and kind of like why we love those games so much. And I think it's. I may have mentioned this before, but I think it's just the fun is in the simplified controls. The great effects show off the hardware, but it's the raw experiences. When you get dropped into Doom, it's a raw experience. It's you, your gun, and hell.
Literally.
You'll pick it up. You'll pick it up as you go, but that's what this game is about. You're dropped into hell, and you need to survive. And it's all about the gameplay. I mean, who really remembers? If you asked like a normal person who played Doom back in the day what the story was, what do you think they'd say? I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys shoot.
Just kill everything and find the key and get out.
It had nothing to do with the story. Nobody cared.
It was just survive.
It was, what's the next enemy? What's the next room I got to get to?
I'm gonna get that next gun, the new gun.
You didn't need a manual. You didn't need a tutorial. The game teaches you as you go, and you get better. So I mean, and you think about like Doom and Doom 64. The 64 launched, and you got Turok and Doom like back to back.
Back to back.
Those games came out pretty much back to back. Think about that. First person glory right there between those two games for the 64. You were doing pretty well in like January, February
real well
of 97.
Blockbuster rentals all day.
That you did?
No, well Turok, yeah.
But not Doom 64?
No.
Let's get into some modern retro, otherwise known as our "It's Still Real to Me, Damn It" moment.
It's still real to me, damn it!
So, amidst all the Corona panic, Trenton, we forgot that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
In what, quarterback club?
No. The Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl this year. Did you know that?
Okay.
All right. Well, so that
was like 2 months before. But okay.
Well, no, I mean the coronavirus had started already. Kind of like it was. January was like we saw it in China, and then it was starting. But anyways, my point is that it made me think of NFL '95. Do you remember the commercial for Sega Genesis for NFL '95?
The designers of Sega's all-new NFL 95 wanted you to know what it feels like in a real NFL game. So they gave it the real teams, the real players, and a brand new feature that lets you see 65 yards downfield, just like in real life.
Go, Dave, go!
Oh my God.
Sorry, Mr. Montana.
There's even a new trading feature.
I just bought a house.
No.
You don't remember where Joe's he's on the Chiefs, and he hears this voice, and it's this massively obese guy saying, "Go, Joe, go!" And he's like, "Oh my God!" And then he just gets sacked.
No, I don't.
You don't remember that?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll embed it. We'll embed it in here, but you have to see that. Something in modern retro here is I bought Sal, my little guy, for his birthday. He's turning 6 tomorrow.
Ooh.
Oh,
Wow!
dude!
That was awesome!
What the heck, man?
Did you hear me playing Lil Wayne Fireman
Yeah.
in the background?
Oh, that's awesome.
Fireman.
Dude,
Fireman.
is that awesome?
Wait, guys, can I tell you something?
What?
It was like, it's like you're in the Royal Rumble, but you're outside. There's like trouble. There's like
Exactly
trouble.
like the Royal Rumble. Everyone's going over the top rope.
6. From Lucas.
Lucas.
Sal,
Yeah.
that's about the most special thing anybody's ever done for anybody. I bought him a 3DS.
Ooh, moving up in the world.
Yep. There was a bunch of sales on the what is it, the eShop?
Yeah.
I got him pretty much every Sega 3D classic. So I'm going to be burning his eyes out.
Of course.
Well, he's got to have Streets of Rage. So I got both of the Streets of Rages.
Right, because he doesn't have like 8 different versions of it already.
Listen, Streets of Rage, you can have a million versions. It's not enough. You need to own it on your toaster, okay? Any device that you have needs to have a version of Streets of Rage.
For real.
Play it with your tongue.
Oh my god.
He finally beat his first level in Super Mario Brothers
Super Mario Brothers
for NES.
Oh, Mario 1.
We were playing the other day, and he beat the first level. I was
Nice.
all right, there's hope. There's hope for you.
It's about time.
Yeah, but it was kind of like it kind of hit me. I was like, man, because he looked at me afterwards and he said, Dad, I'm never gonna be as good as you at this game. And I was like, I had to like build him up. I told him, I was like, listen, when I had this game when I was a kid, I had 3 games. That's all I had was 3 games. He said, you only had 3 games?
It's like, we got 3 games last week.
I had to explain to him, like, listen, it wasn't like now where we have all these games. It was, it was kind of like the form, the early days. And I said, listen, we are going to practice, and you are going to get very, very good. He's
Whether you like it or
yeah,
not.
yeah. And he was blown away by the 3 games thing. But I was like, don't you worry, we're going to practice. And now he's like, Daddy, I want to play Super Mario Brothers. I want to play Super Mario. I mean, that's like a christening.
Yeah. That's the first game I played, pretty much.
He's gonna need. That's like your awakening in gaming. So we'll try to coach him there. He'll enjoy his 3DS. I got Kirby with it, so that'll be a nice little introduction for him too.
Kirby 3D Land or something. Whatever.
Yeah, Kirby goes to the moon.
Yeah.
He floated too high.
Yeah.
And ended up on the moon. Let's do our segment of our system launch tournament. What do you say, Trent? You wanna
bracket busters.
You wanna knock some systems out? So we are in the quarterfinals.
Oh, already?
We're in the quarterfinals.
7 months later.
So all right. So the final bracket, as we see it now.
Now it's real.
PlayStation versus the Dreamcast, Genesis versus the Nintendo 64. On the other side, we've got the NES versus the Saturn, and Super Nintendo versus the Atari 7800. So today we're going to be doing the Dreamcast versus the PlayStation, and the Super Nintendo versus the Atari 7800. Let's start.
Solid.
Let's start on the left side of the bracket. You think it's solid?
Solid.
Solid.
Real hard.
What's hard about it?
Just metaphorically. Like, it's hard.
I would think so. I don't know what that means, but I like the energy.
I don't know what the fuck you just said.
All right, so let's get ourselves primed into the thoughts, into the mode.
Like, not sexually, but
no, but
okay.
let's transport ourselves. So
transcendent.
So here are the launch libraries. Here's the launch library for the PlayStation. Battle Arena Toshinden.
Solid.
Which I call it Toshinden. Some people say Toshinden.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
Toshinden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toshinden?
Oh, somebody feel Toshinden.
Toshinden. I don't know. I like Toshinden. Whatever. ESPN Extreme Games.
Ugh.
Kalik the DNA Imperative.
Bless you.
NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Power Serve Tennis. The Raiden Project.
Or Raiden.
How do you say it?
Raiden.
No. You got to use the voice.
Raiden.
There you go. Ridge Racer. Rayman. It's all our games. Street Fighter the movie.
Whoa.
And Total Eclipse
of the Heart Turbo.
Which I think is a port of a 3D game.
Yeah.
On the Dreamcast side, we've got Arrow Wings, Air Force Delta, Blue Stinger, Flag to Flag.
They sound like Atari games.
Boxing,
just
baseball, football, Stampede, bowling.
And blocks. All heavy hitters.
Hangman.
Yeah.
Frogs and Flies. Indy 500. All right. I know too many Atari games.
Well, all you got to say is anything, and it's probably a game they had back then.
Book.
Painting.
Circus.
Yeah.
Isn't Circus one of them?
Yeah,
Isn't that a game?
I think so. Rocks.
All right. Expendable. House of the Dead.
Wait, what the fuck
2.
is Expendable?
Expendable is I believe it's a run and gun game. It's 2-player run and gun, almost like 1 for the PlayStation 1.
All right.
I think it came out for the PS1 as well. Expendable.
Yeah, that's one I never heard of.
Actually, it's right up your alley.
Oh.
It's one that you would like.
Toy.
Yeah. Hydro Thunder, Monaco Grand Prix, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL 2K, NFL Blitz 2000. Your favorite, Pen Trill Salon.
Trill Salon?
You gotta keep it Trill Salon. Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic. It doesn't stop. Sonic Adventure.
I know. There's almost too many.
Soul Calibur. No, never too many launch games. TNN Hardcore.
All right, we're
Heat.
done. You said Soul Calibur is over.
Pretty much. I mean, all right. Let's diagram this a little bit. So, or diaphragm.
Nope, neither one of those. Those are both wrong. None of them have to do with this.
One of them deals with sex. One of them has nothing to do with it. All right, so Toshinden sucks. It's fucking horrible.
I mean, it
was flashy in its time.
Yeah,
but
that's why I liked it, I think.
It's got no irreverence amongst the PlayStation library.
No.
It's trash. ESPN Extreme Games. I've already used an expletive on that game.
It's rough.
Before. Kalik, the DNA Imperative.
Yeah.
Okay. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Now that is a solid game.
But I mean,
NBA Jam came before that.
Yeah, but I mean,
I also had.
It's just
conversions on Super Nintendo and Genesis and 32X.
I get why it came out. Power Serve Tennis. Who could forget?
Right. The Raiden Project. That's
a 8-bit game basically.
Again, we talked about this with the Jaguar.
Yeah.
Do you know that they have Jaguar conventions called JagFest?
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
I mentioned it. I said there's people that still like
JagFest. People who get hard-ons about the Jaguar.
Yeah, they have them the same day as the My Little Pony conventions.
The bronies?
Yeah, they're all this. They commingle.
Do they cross swords?
Because they're jaguars and ponies, you know.
Is that like the
They're Japanese. yeah, Jack.
There's crazier things that exist. There's crazier things that exist.
I have a Jaguar story we could tell later on.
And
some other time when we do something with, I don't know. We'll probably end up doing something with a Jaguar or something.
I don't want to do anything with the Jaguar except light it on fire.
All right, so what are we at? The Raiden
Tell me,
project?
guys. Tell me, what is the fascination with the Atari Jaguar? What is its redeeming quality?
It's cool, man.
I want to know. Tell me. Write it in the comments. We don't get any comments. Tell me, what is the big deal about the Jaguar?
There's no deal.
No deal.
All right, deal. So Power Serve Tennis, Raiden.
Where were we? So Ridge Racer.
Well,
Ridge Racer is...
Can't fuck with that.
No. Ridge Racer is a more than solid title. That is a banger right there. Rayman, awesome game. Tough, but really awesome. It's a platformer, right? There's been platformers before
which is on the Jaguar. In the 3DO.
That's not true!
Is it on the 3DO?
I'm pretty sure it is.
So that's a good game. Street Fighter the movie.
It's not Street Fighter. That's the only problem.
No. I mean, it's got the same moveset, but it's just, they got the Mortal Kombat characters to do Street Fighter stuff. And then Total Eclipse is like a flight game.
I mean, when you think about it, the PlayStation really didn't have
It didn't have a great launch.
It was like...
Well, so Toshinden...
Everybody got Toshinden.
But here's the thing. They were comparing Toshinden to Virtua Fighter, and the funny thing now is that if you try to play both of those games, it's not even a contest. It's not even close.
We're talking about in
1995.
I remember, because like everyone was like, "Yo, Battle Arena Toshinden, Battle Arena is dude," just because it was like
3D,
the first kind of like 3D
mapped
fighting
polygons.
game people were playing.
Yeah, but now you go back to it. I mean, I have 2 versions of Toshinden on Saturn, and they're
like if I was going
trash.
I got a PlayStation maybe a little bit longer. If I was going to get a PlayStation, I don't even know what game I would pick. There's like
Ridge Racer.
it's not even like, I mean, there's only, it's not worth $60. I mean, it's like you're playing like a couple courses and like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, wait a minute though. Would you say that Daytona
I know.
USA is worth it? In 1995. In 1995.
I don't know. If I'm 15 and or 11 and trying to spend $60.
Okay, but what are you evaluating it? How are you evaluating it?
On what I'm gonna get out of it.
And you're gonna get quite a lot of it because you're gonna,
I
you're
guess.
gonna race those damn tracks every day you get home from school.
But you're
gonna go to school. You're gonna be thinking about.
I wouldn't drop $60 on Ridge Racer. When I was 11, if I'm dropping $300 on a PlayStation and I got
would you drop $60 on Sonic the Hedgehog?
Oh, Sonic, yeah.
Okay, well, but you could beat that game in an afternoon.
Yeah, but it's a better experience than I think Ridge Racer was.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying, I don't know if there was even one game on there that I would be like, this is the reason I'm getting a PlayStation, right? I mean,
it'd have to be Toshinden back then. Have to be.
And it's not even a great game.
No, I mean back then people thought it was, but yeah, the ESPN game.
No, it's because everyone had the demo disc and it had like a bunch of games on it.
All right, so take Soul Calibur out of it. If Soul Calibur wasn't on this list, I guess it doesn't matter. There's a lot of games on here that would probably be
Power Stone.
Oh, Power Stone would clear the board.
Ready to Rumble did that come out? Yeah, Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble was amazing,
dude. Ryan Susi got a Dreamcast, and he had Ready to Rumble and Soul Calibur.
Those are
and we literally played those like every day, nonstop. I mean, just those two games alone.
The what do you call it? The morphing effects on the skin of the characters in Ready to Rumble when they'd be bouncing ready to go, and you'd see like their skin stretch. It was like a whole nother level.
Yeah, and just Soul Calibur was what Battle Arena Toshinden wanted to be.
Another masterpiece.
Yeah,
another masterpiece.
And then you got Hydro Thunder, like all the arcade games, like
Hydro Thunder is banging.
Blitz.
Is there one other game that would beat the whole list for PSX? House of the Dead 2.
I mean it's still a short game, but
NFL 2K.
Oh, I would. I mean, I'm more of a Blitz guy.
Oh, me too. But I'm just saying, like, NFL 2K was on the level of Madden. It was actually,
yeah. People
almost thought of it as a step above,
right?
You know? So.
And then what else is there? Any?
Mortal Kombat Gold. Blue Stinger is a survival horror game. Really good survival horror game. Air Force Delta and Arrow Wings, those are flight games.
I've actually never played the Mortal Kombat Gold, but if it plays is it Mortal Kombat 4?
4,
right?
Yep.
I mean, I like Mortal Kombat 4. Yeah, I don't care. Even the 3D.
Well, I mean, you would be the authority on Mortal Kombat. I wouldn't know.
I haven't played Mortal Kombat Gold, but I'm assuming it plays the same as like the 64 Mortal Kombat.
I just remember I would go over Pat Musen's house and he had it for his PC, but his PC wasn't powerful enough, so he had to play it in a window that was like this big.
Mortal Kombat
4. I remember he got Mortal Kombat
on the
4
PC.
On the PC in
like
97 or 98. Yeah, whenever that game came out.
Yeah.
I just remember he was playing it in a box this big. I mean, it worked.
Yeah. Bring the resolution all the way down. Close all the windows. Turn the sound off.
You might as well just play Mortal Kombat 1 on Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point?
Uninstall Solitaire and Paint, and then you can fit the game on there. Now I've got enough memory.
Run it in DOS.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, it's not even close.
No. So Dreamcast moves on, and it will face the winner of the Genesis and the Nintendo 64. On the other side, we've got what do you call that?
Oh, that's an SNES.
Thank you very much. I thought you were gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, I zigged when you thought I was.
I know. I was giving you that opportunity. I opened it up for you.
Don't fuck it up.
So we've got the Super Nintendo with Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, and F-Zero. On the other side, we've got the Atari 7800 with Asteroids, Centipede, Desert Falcon, Dig Dug, Food Fight, Galaga, Joust, Miss Pac-Man, Pole Position 2, Robotron 2084, and Xevious. I'm just going to say it right off the top. When are we not going to give Atari 7800 a pass for all this stuff? Like, at what point in this tournament do we say, okay, that's enough. Like,
This is the 8th version.
here's the thing: we can't give the Atari 7800 the crown of the best launch ever. That would render our credibility.
These games came out 10
nil.
years ago.
Yeah. So in a contest against the Master System, I can see it. In the first contest, holding some weight. But at some point, when you look at this and you compare it to these heavier hitter systems on the launches, when does the next shoe drop with these? And maybe I'm being unfair to the 7800, but I'm sorry, this system can't win the best launch.
Yeah, I remember those games on the 2600.
Right.
Now they have 3 more colors. It's literally every game that's been out like for years.
Well, so all right, so let me ask you this: why did we give Atari 7800 the win over the Master System then?
With the same, cause I don't remember what the Master System is, because those games were terrible too. I mean, not terrible, but there was like, what did we say? The influence that it had, to gaming, or whatever.
Well, gameplay is number one.
Right.
That's the king.
But I mean, you look at the Master System launch; it's not much. You got Safari Hunt.
Right. Hang
on's fine.
Yep.
Like Choplifter, like they're all just kind of standard games.
Right. Fantasy Zone.
Yeah.
So then,
I mean, and then you compare, like the 7800 had those style of games, but then they just had more, and there was
better
ones that are better versions.
and better games.
Yeah.
And Galaga, the 7800 is that's the first real version of Galaga. There was one on,
but this is the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Now.
right. That's what I mean. Like, at what point do we say, okay, we've given the Atari?
This is the point.
It's due. That's what I mean. So. And you look on the other side, you got Pilot Wings, F-Zero, and Super Mario World. For the most part, 3 bangers right there,
Mm.
I mean, F-Zero is a game you could play all through the library, like all through the lifetime of that Super Nintendo.
Kind of like, well, that's, that had, that's...
it's a
that's
good
like
game.
the game that had the Mode 7 kind of
It showed
style.
off. It showed off Mode 7. It was the game to show off the Super Nintendo. It actually was at, I think it was at the Super Famicom launch in Japan. So, and I've heard guys talk about when they saw this game for the first time, either in an import store or, in a magazine, or when they saw it in motion, and they were like, this is the next level. Like, I can't go back after this, And it's funny because F-Zero really doesn't have like a whole lot of like games that people go back to. You got F-Zero X on the 64. But that's pretty much it. GX is a good game, but it's punishingly hard.
Oh, the GameCube one?
Yeah. So there's not a lot of games in the series. They haven't even revisited it since 2001.
And there's
2002.
one on the Advance. I don't know if it's like this. I don't know. I can't remember what it's. F-Zero GP or something like that.
Right. But Super Mario World. Super Mario World is not Super Mario, and it's not Super Mario 3, but it's still a fantastic game, and it still brings enough to the table that I think it kind of wipes out a lot of these games here.
It took, it kind of took some of the Super Mario 3 style and like.
That's why I don't give it as much credit.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It took like that whole kind of.
Even the early screenshots from Super Mario World were like basically Super Mario 3. They had to.
But the game's amazing though.
It is. It's game like in terms of gameplay.
You could always put that game in and just play
anytime.
For hours,
Remember I was talking about video game comfort food. That's Super Mario World.
Yeah.
You just play that game and you're happy instantly. Yep. A lot like Doom. So, I don't know. I don't. Without going too deep into this whole thing and being here for 5 hours, I just don't see a scenario where I can give much more to the Atari 7800. Asteroids is a good game. It's a 2600 game. Centipede is a good game. It's a 2600 game. Desert Falcon, Dig Dug is a good game. It's a 2600 game. Food Fight, okay. Galaga is a banger. Joust, good game. Came out on 2600. Miss Pac-Man came out on the 2600.
Well, that's
better.
Let's not say Pac-Man on the 2600 is worthy.
No, Miss
of
Pac-Man.
anything.
Miss Pac-Man.
On the 2600 though?
Yeah. They fixed the issues.
No,
with Pac-Man.
I know, but I mean, it's
Although that might
it's
come
like the
out
same.
later.
It's still the same. Like, yeah, it's Pac-Man again.
But the real ones that stand out for me are Galaga, Pole Position 2, Xevious, and Robotron. Those are the ones that kind of stand out for me. But I don't think that they can clear the hurdle of the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, because they're all just kind of, except for, I mean, they're all kind of like one-screen games. You know, it's just,
and when we talk about like within the library of their system, like how are they thought of? The Atari doesn't have any games, so any game that's good is going to be a game that's out of, well, Super Nintendo's got 1,000 games, and these 3 games are still brought up as ones you have to play.
Yeah.
And so that means a lot, on the fact that they're good games, and did they push gaming forward? Well, I don't know about that, but they're great, and they're top 10 games in their library. At least F-Zero and Super Mario World are.
It's weird. It's like Nintendo was just like, all right, we're just gonna put out our system, and the launch is just gonna have only our games.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they were trying to get like SimCity there, which they were pretty much remaking.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Not Salamander.
Sim Ant.
I rented Sim Ant. I had no idea what I was doing. I played it for 10 minutes and I turned it off. It was like the biggest waste of rental money that I had. I just kept going in and out of the anthill. I had no idea what was happening. Good times.
All right,
Good
so
times.
the
Super
SNES moves on.
SNES moves on, so it will face the winner of the Saturn and the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, dicey propositions.
Dicey propositions.
Very dicey. So we're ending up with 3 Sega systems versus 3 Nintendo systems.
Oh,
Look at that, huh?
it's funny how things work out.
It's a funny thing. All right. Thanks for dealing with us, guys, on that. What do you say we talk about some Doom?
Just a little bit.
So, who are the principal actors, Trent, in Doom? I know. I got to take you back a little bit.
Let's bring them back.
I got to tell you a story. So, there's some important characters. So, Scott Miller.
Good old Scott.
Scotty, as he was known.
Scotty Burrell.
Was the chairman, the president, the CEO, whatever you want to call him, of Apogee.
Oh man, they made all those like IBM games, didn't they?
So, they were a publisher of shareware style games.
Oh god, those were like the Christmas tree store specials. Do you remember? Do you ever? I used to always grab those like discs at the Christmas tree store.
Christmas tree shops.
Yeah, they had them like on this like this rack, and there was just
there
tons of like.
How much did they go for? What were
they were like $5 or whatever, because
they had a bunch of games in them.
Yeah, or there was just like they were just like the flop, the 3.5-inch disc ones.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I remember, I'd try to get my mom to get one. So if it was like, it wouldn't be more than $5 she would be spending on. We
used to go to, get this, at Stop and Shop. They used to sell IBM PC compatible games, like for the Tandy that we would play. Yeah, we got.
Yeah, a lot of those games were like only a couple bucks. They were like just in like a paper.
Yeah, we got like the Bugs Bunny game where you go through the mazes and the hairy monsters trying to get you.
Yeah. Those things, they were just like the AOL discs. They were just like couldn't get rid of them fast enough.
No. So did you end up buying some?
Yeah, I had one. I had a Prince of Destiny. I remember.
Prince of Persia?
No.
Oh.
No. It was like a no-name game.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them were.
And I think I had the Duke Nukem, the side-scrolling.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's supposed to be a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's all right. We played it at I think Retro Game Con.
That's right.
I was playing.
You were playing it. It looks sharp.
I hope we can go. Hopefully,
we'll
get back to normal.
It'll open up. So you had Scott Miller from Apogee, and then you had John Carmack and John Romero, who were at a company called Soft Disk.
Pause.
So Soft Disk was a producer of these shareware games, and the way that it worked was you'd have these subscription services where people would join a subscription service, almost like a GameFly. But what would happen is they get like a magazine and they would get a disc in the mail. and the disc would have a bunch of shareware games on it. So you'd get like the first episode of a
Yeah,
game.
usually they'd put like a couple levels of like
Couple
each game
levels
or, whatever,
or a full episode, which sometimes could be more, and it would essentially open you up to the game, like almost like an enhanced demo disc,
yeah.
but an enhanced one where it had the first third of the game, and then if you really liked it, you could send away and purchase the rest of the game, which is kind of a neat idea if you think about it. You know, you can kind of play these games and get a feel for them. I mean, back before we were all connected to the internet and able to download demos. That was a nice way to kind of try a bunch of different software, where you didn't have to make a full commitment to it.
Yeah.
But they were just pumping out games. I mean, they were just every 2 months they were coming out with something new.
Yeah, that was like past our prime really, because none of it. I mean, my computer barely was powerful enough to play like a shareware game.
Oh yeah, no, mine couldn't even do that. I mean, the Tandy 1000 was like an EGA monitor. Had like teal and magenta.
Oh, like I remember I got a computer for like Christmas, and it was one of those big ass fucking things, and the monitor was black and orange. Those are the colors.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just like a dumb terminal.
Yeah.
Jeez. Could it display graphics?
Yeah, I think I had I can't remember. I had like one game on it or
Hardball?
something. No, it was like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, or like Oregon Trail or something like that.
We had a version of ABC's Monday Night Football.
Excuse me, sir. May I please have your security password?
Oh God!
But the voices were it was like ABC presents Monday Night Football, and then we had to enter this key to get into the game. And we lost the paper that had
like
the key
the
on it.
serial number or
yeah,
whatever.
so you just have to guess. And like 9 times out of 10 you wouldn't get it, but then that one time you'd get it right, and they'd let you play.
Oh God!
And funny enough, ABC's Monday Night Football is the precursor to Madden.
Oh really?
Yeah, because the team that made it, I don't know if it was Park Place Productions, they made that game, and then they were tasked to make the Madden games on Sega.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, huh? So Scott, who worked at this other company, right, who made games, but they also published games, he was writing fan letters to John Romero because he had seen the work that these guys had done over at Softdisk. And he was writing fan letters to them. And what he was doing was, at the end of his fan letter, which wasn't really a fan letter, it was just trying to get a message to these guys, because he knew that what would happen is he would send a letter to them, and then it would get opened up at the front desk. And if it was like, hey, I want you guys to work for me, it would go right in the trash bin.
Yeah.
So he'd write these letters as if he was a fan,
and then slip a little note in,
and put different names, and then at the end he would say, please contact me
for a good time.
Yeah. For a good time, write to me a letter here. And he would put his address in, and maybe a phone number. And so John Romero thought they were just he thought they were just fan letters, so he would pin them up. And then he was reading an industry magazine, and he was looking at a review for a game called Commander of Kraus. And he noticed that the address for the company that made Commander of Kraus was the same address as the fan letters.
So he was a stalker.
So he was like, he picked it up. He was like, I see what's going on here. So he kind of got keen to it and made the connection back out. But one shareware game before I move on that I wanted to mention was Hocus Pocus. Do you remember Hocus Pocus?
I remember the movie.
So Hocus Pocus is a shareware game that I played over at Jason Fabricki's house. Remember I was talking about the compact Presario? It was on that disc of like 99 games.
Oh yeah.
And it's a side-scrolling platformer where you're just shooting out these little projectiles.
Nothing to do with the movie though.
No. But you're like a sorcerer or something like that. But some fun stuff in there. I mean, I don't know. Those games were like
real neat games.
They were like captured in time. Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein was a shareware game. Like Wolfenstein 3D. There were two games that John Carmack had produced. Hover Tank 3D. You guys can check this out on YouTube. Hover Tank 3D and Catacomb 3D, which were the precursors for Wolfenstein, which itself was a precursor for Doom. So they got connected with Scott, and they basically made a deal, and they were going to leave Softdisk to form id Software.
No, we're breaking off.
Right. Their former name was Ideas from the Deep. Ideas from the Deep.
I got it.
And so they had shown to Scott their first idea for a game called Commander Keen. And he saw the idea and he gave him $2,000. He said, "Here's $2,000. Start your own company, as long as you will bring on Apogee as the publisher of these games. That I will publish them, I will distribute them, and then I will share royalties with you." Funny little sidebar about Commander Keen. Commander Keen comes from their work on a version of Super Mario Brothers 3 that they had created for the PC. They went to Nintendo. And you guys can see this on YouTube. There's actually game footage. They actually recreated parts of Super Mario Brothers 3 just to be able to show it off to Nintendo, to see if Nintendo would allow them to port it.
Just to try to prove it that they could do it.
Well, to try to port the game to PC.
Yeah.
And say, "Hey, Nintendo, do you want to work together? We can port this game for you." Nintendo shot it right down.
They're like, "No, we want all the money."
They were like, "No, we want to keep it exclusive to our platform." But what was born out of that was Commander Keen. They basically used the same work that they had done with
Just
Super Mario.
reskinned it, kind of.
They kind of reskinned it a little bit and advanced it, and they made Commander Keen, which is a side-scrolling platformer sort of exploration game. But the big deal with Commander Keen is that this game had smooth scrolling left to right, where computers at the time were not really good at doing smooth scrolling. And so they were one of the first games that actually did it very well, where the screen would pan without being kind of like jerky.
Yeah.
Like you remember Duke Nukem when you were playing it, and the way the level kind of loads in as you're
it's like when you get close to the edge, it kind of
it's a little too jerky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little jerky.
With the way it comes in. So John Carmack was the main programmer of Doom. John Romero was the designer. Adrian Carmack, no relation to John Carmack, did the graphics. And they said, "Okay, let's do this." So they went off. They created Wolfenstein 3D, and then they got to work on Doom. The one thing I can say about Doom, from its graphics to its sound to its music, its visceral combat, its atmosphere, I mean, you're literally dropped into hell. It's amazing. The weapons themselves are characters. I mean, remember the first time you picked up the shotgun?
Yeah.
You could do that 100 times and it wouldn't get old.
And then like the Gatling gun or the one that spins. It's like
the railgun.
Yeah,
the railgun. I think it's called the railgun.
We just like mowing like
chain gun,
yeah.
Railgun. But going back to what I was talking about with the game, the game story being so simple and the gameplay being so simple, it kind of elevates everything else around it. So like the weapons become their own characters in a way. The shotgun. Everybody knows the shotgun from Doom. Everybody knows the BFG 9000.
Yeah.
These weapons.
Fucking gun.
These weapons have character. Am I wrong about that?
No.
Okay.
You're right on.
Gotta wet my whistle a little bit.
Pause.
And John Carmack said the same himself. He said that, a good game doesn't need a big story. It just needs to have great gameplay to be fun. And I agree. And because that's what resonates on our channel, Trent, is good gameplay. Story is great, but if the gameplay sucks, it doesn't matter.
That is correct.
In fact, if the gameplay is good enough, you don't even need a story.
I know. I was just gonna say that. Doesn't work both ways.
No. Gaming is about picking up a controller and being almost immediately immersed into the game. It should grab you from the beginning. If a game can't grab you in the first 5 minutes,
yeah, I'm out.
You know what I mean? If you can't prove to me within 5 minutes that I should be playing you, then and I'm not talking about like a strategy game or an RPG.
Say like RPG, yeah,
I'm talking about an action game. If there's something off with that gameplay, it's over. I'm on to the next thing. There were some strong movie influences to the game. They basically took aliens Evil Dead 2 and Dungeons and Dragons and kind of mashed them all together. They were sort of the inspiration to the kind of the tone of the game. You know, you can see that with obviously Alien, you know, these hellish creatures that you're all alone by yourself. That's kind of like the whole premise of the movie Alien. You know, but there's some funky designs too, like in Evil Dead and Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I'm not really sure of the reference there, but
talking about like the board game Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe just the characters. Maybe just I don't know, like the enemies.
Could be maybe some of the enemies. I mean, there's no dragons or anything, but there's an occult sort of tone throughout the game.
I don't know. I don't really know much about Dungeons and Dragons.
There's like the skull keys, and you know you see like the big, you know, almost like gothic doors that you have to go through sometimes.
Kind of like maze-like kind of.
Maybe the maze-like nature
like
of it.
Searching for the end, or
yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
The Doom name, Trent. You know where the Doom name comes from?
No, but I believe you're gonna tell us.
So there's a scene in the movie The Color of Money.
Oh, you want to cause a scene?
The Color of Money with Tom Cruise.
Oh.
You know this movie?
Yeah, the Bury Your Dead song.
What?
Color of Money. Bury Your Dead.
Oh, yeah, Bury Your Dead. Yeah. No, I mean the actual movie,
Yeah.
The Color of Money. So Tom Cruise, he's in this pool hall, and right before he demolishes this guy in a game of 9-ball, the guy comes up to him and he's like, "What you got in that?" And it was basically like a pool cue case.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What you got in that?" And they're gambling, and he said, "Doom."
What you got in there? In here?
Doom.
Yeah, I just picture him like saying it
Doom.
like that.
He goes, "We're gonna have a lot of fun." That was Tommy Cruise in The Color of Money.
Tommy Cruise, huh?
And that's my way. And John Carmack said that's, you know, he viewed the game as the same way as like Doom is being brought on the player, and so he's like this is perfect.
Bring the ruckus.
Yeah, this is perfect. Doom was a shareware game. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Doom was a shareware game. So in the first year and a half of its life, it was a shareware game, and then in 1995 there was a retail version that was released. But
for $49.95.
But initially you had to send away for it. There was the first episode that you would get, and then you could send away
like the first level.
The first like
couple levels,
9 or 8 levels. Yeah.
I wonder what they charged to get like.
Shareware would, you know, you could basically steal
like the full, like the full game after.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. What they charge for games? I imagine it was probably similar. What, $39.99, $49.99?
I wondered, you don't know, did they give you the full game, or was it literally just the levels after like the shareware version?
Shoot, I don't even know. That's a good question. If you would be able to have, I mean, it doesn't really matter since you already got them, right?
No, I know, but it'd just be kind of weird. Like you play like the levels and then you put
like what happens if
what
happens if you get rid of the shareware version and then you want to play it?
Because does it like? I'm trying to like. Do you just like? How does it know like all your?
I don't know about the drivers, man. Don't ask me about PC shit. I don't know.
No, I'm saying like if you're whatever. Say the game had the first 3 levels and you start the game, you get the next version. It does it continue where you have all your guns and your inventory?
I think you're thinking a little too deep on this.
But does that make sense though?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think it just like it clicks in. You know what I mean? It's like you got the box of the shareware version, and then you got the retail.
Picture this.
You just gotta click them together, and then wherever you were is not gonna get affected by the rest of the game.
You click them together.
Yeah, you know, it's like a cube. You know, you gotta join them at the hip. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Nope. Still just as puzzled as it was before. Maybe even more now.
Doom popularized the deathmatch term. Deathmatch comes from Doom. The term deathmatch comes from Doom.
But did it? No, was that Doom? That Doom wasn't like. No, it came out before the internet, right?
What do you mean the internet?
Doom.
Internet's been around since the 60s, brother.
You know what I mean, jackass.
Doom was one of the first games that really took
you could connect
the internet connection
No,
You know,
I don't.
the hosting and you know
That was
playing,
before my time.
right, playing games against somebody else in a whole nother area. Yeah, that was Doom was the first
That was like 28.
really big game to
That was
do
like
that.
28.8K modems.
Probably 14.4.
That was even like before 56K.
Yeah. And John Romero said that he got the idea to do the deathmatch from playing games like Street Fighter 2 and Fatal Fury. That it was like, okay, well, you have this one-on-one nature.
Like, how do I take
why can't we do that in
this?
Doom? Well, let's have this deathmatch where it's one Doom guy versus another Doom guy, and they're in one of the levels, running around in the levels, and they got to shoot each other. And now that's like the biggest thing of it. I mean, Call of Duty and all these games. I mean, that's the whole point, you know.
It's one big boner jam.
Although I like the idea of it being like just a limited number of guys on the screen, where it's not like 10 on 10.
So you just want a few guys, not a lot.
I mean, just one or two. You don't need a whole lot of guys, you know, to have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like once you get more than like 3 guys on the screen, I'm out.
Yeah, it's too much. I mean, you don't know who to aim at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're gonna get plugged if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. It's like you just end up like shooting all over the place. You know?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you're not gonna land your shots.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're gonna get cummed on.
Yeah. Wait, what? They don't have a gun like that in Doom. No.
Yeah, that's the BFD 9000 actually.
Man, rapid shot.
What's the icon for that on the screen?
Let's not go there.
Does it have transparencies? Doom is one of the first games in my mind. It's really the first game to transcend and bridge PC to console gaming. I mean, I can't think of a game before that was big on both platforms. I mean, there were games that were like on NES that were also PC games, and they reformatted them, but nothing really that was as popular
from PC to console.
that was as popular in the home as it was on PC. It's got to be one of the first. I can't think of any game before that was that. There's definitely no game before that was that big.
You're saying like it was as popular as a console game?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it transcended the ecosystems. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
PC or console, everybody wanted to play it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
know one person that had it too. The PC one.
Oh. Getting to the Doom ports, all the Doom console ports except for the Super Nintendo, guess what they were based off of, Trenton?
What do you mean? What they were based off of?
Yeah, which version? There was one console version that all of the versions were based off of. Saturn, PS1, 3DO, 32X. There was one version.
So you're saying one console version and then they all converted from that one?
Yeah.
The Saturn version?
The goddamn mother frickin'
Jaguar.
Atari Jaguar.
Was it really?
The Atari Jaguar.
They used that.
That was
the
one,
that
was the first version, and
converted it from there.
From that, can you believe that?
Oh, well, I guess so, because the Jaguar was out before the PlayStation and Saturn, so it would make sense, right?
I was heartbroken when I had to read that.
Everything I know is a lie.
Yeah, so all of the ports are based off of the Jaguar, which crushes me because I don't want to give the
Just
Jaguar
hurts my soul.
any sort of credit whatsoever. The level layouts, the textures, the geometry,
The trigonometry.
all based off of the Jaguar part for those games.
How do you even play the Jaguar version, huh?
Well,
with that fucked up controller?
That I don't even know, because I think isn't there a 6-button Jaguar controller?
Yeah, who has that? Let alone a
Jaguar
Jaguar controller.
Anybody who goes to JagFest. Trenton.
It's like, let alone who has a Jaguar, who has a 6-button Jaguar controller. You had to like mail away for one of those.
JagFest.
If you want to get all you can out of a Jaguar game, you need the 6-button controller.
JagFest. I want to call it something else I'm not going to say on air.
Pause.
Doom is technically, Trenton, not a 3D game. Did you know that?
Ooh, they play tricks on you.
Yeah. Ooh. all the objects are basically 2D sprites. So the enemies obviously are all 2D sprites.
Yeah, they're just flat.
But the wall geometry, the floors, the sky, like everything is a 2D sprite in basically what's called a binary space partition.
Binomial.
So, right. So everything is just, they kind of like build the level out of these two-dimensional items that create the world you live in, and it's the illusion of kind of walking through a 3D play space.
The halls of illusions.
Right. So think of like Power Slave or Duke Nukem 3D. Same sort of premise there. But the benefit of that too is that you have that vertical aim, auto aim. So it doesn't matter where.
As long as you're shooting, it's going to hit them.
As long as you're shooting in that direction, it's going to aim at the.
Which is what Duke Nukem did too.
Which is good. I like that because there's less responsibility of the player.
Yeah, trying to aim in that.
Like, you go back to. If you go back to GoldenEye, it's almost unplayable in that way of if you had like a death match.
It's still real to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still real to you, but I can't go back to GoldenEye. I can't play that game on 64. Like you stop and then you got to aim with that finicky analog stick to try to shoot somebody. No,
I love it.
There's just too many other good games even on that system. I'm not messing with it, man. There's a little bit of auto aim, like if you're like just shooting straight without not aiming, it'll like target a person. But I don't know if it does that in the multiplayer maps. I don't know if that's just maybe on a single player map.
No, it's the same. It's the same play as in the
it'll
one
target
player.
them. Yeah, I don't know. It's just. You ever seen a vagina by itself? Not for me. Not for me. Quake was the first really big like 3D polygonal first-person shooter game. That was the one, and that was an id game too. So they kind of took it to the next level with Quake.
Yeah, another 3D game. That was like Doom Ashen on the N-Gage.
Talk about even more unknown than the Atari Jaguar. Oh my God. But speaking of the auto aim, that was kind of a benefit with when you had like a Genesis controller or a Saturn controller, PlayStation controller. Auto aim was kind of important because it wasn't like a mouse and keyboard where you could aim up or down pretty easily.
Oh yeah.
So the auto aim actually helps the experience because it makes it a lot easier. Can you imagine trying to aim up or down with a 6 button playing Genesis on the 32X? Yeah, it's just not going to happen. But speaking of the 32X,
ooh,
I want to spend our time talking a little bit more about the versions that we grew up with, or the version that we grew up. And I think for both of us, that's the 32X, right? Or did you grow up with something else? Not that we have to get into stories just yet.
No, I would say more the PC version.
Did you really?
Yeah. Not me, but I know someone
right,
who.
Someone who. Right. Well, the 32X port, which is the one that I spent the most time with, was actually developed by Sega, but also had a big helping hand by John Carmack. So he helped actually develop the game. It was one of the only versions that he actually had his hand in. That he
of
helped,
all the versions,
that
huh?
he helped develop that and the Jaguar version. Fucking Jaguar. It didn't use all the capabilities of the 32X, especially in the music department, but the gameplay is solid. It runs at about 20 frames per second. It's funny.
It's just got like a shrunken screen a little bit, right?
A little bit of a shrunken screen, but the gameplay is it's spot on Doom gameplay. I mean, it's there. The experience is there. It's funny. So the music, and I didn't notice this when I was playing as a kid, and I still kind of am endeared to the music on the system. But there's a dot matrix printer version of At Hell's Gate that sounds better than the 32X version of At Hell's Gate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A dot matrix.
Yeah. So there's a YouTube channel. I think I'm not sure if the channel's called MIDI Disaster, but if you look up MIDI Disaster At Hell's Gate, you'll listen to a better version of the first track in the game than what's actually on the 32X. So a dot matrix printer could actually play a better version than the 32X version. There's only 17 levels in the 32X game, so it's truncated because of the cartridge limitation.
Truncated.
So it's the first 2 episodes. Remember we talked about how Doom had 3 episodes. They had the shareware version and then 2 more. So it's basically the first 2 episodes. You don't get that 3rd episode. So you don't really descend into hell.
And the Super Nintendo version was the same?
Super Nintendo had 5 more levels, so you do end up going into hell.
Weird, huh?
Yeah. But the Super Nintendo version is highly unplayable.
Yeah.
So the 32X kind of wins out. You're right. It's letterboxed. It's grainy. Originally, they wanted it to be full screen. Up until September of 1994, there was a version that was full screen, and it had the PC features like wider open areas, and more of the PC geometry was actually in the game. And then at the last minute, they cut it. I don't know if it's because of performance and they wanted the frame rate to be higher.
You would hope so.
But there was actually a version of that you can actually see on YouTube. There's a version of the 32X Doom in full screen that you can actually see. Enemies are always facing you, so unlike the PC version where enemies could be
turned away,
turn
around.
and there could be infighting between the different enemies, the 32X doesn't have as much power, and so they had to actually have the enemies always facing you.
Yeah, I mean that's not a huge deal.
I wouldn't know because I never really played the PC version, so I'll take your word for it. But I can't imagine that it would materially change the gameplay that much.
It's just kind of something that's cool, I guess, if it's there.
Right. But all in all, Doom was a success for the 32X, especially when you consider the Saturn version, which we'll get to. But the 32X is actually a better version of Doom than what's on the Sega Saturn.
Really, huh?
Yep. So we'll get to that. But the best version, the best home version of Doom, and this is a game that I want, or a copy that I want, is for the PlayStation 1. It actually took advantage of the hardware completely. It has Doom 1 and 2 in the package. It runs at 30 frames per second pretty solidly. There's link cable play, so you can actually play through the main story with a buddy.
Is that like another system?
Another system, another TV. But you can actually play through the game. It's got a password feature, so you can play through the game with a buddy.
On a whole, to have a separate TV, right?
Right. We can make it happen here. We can make it happen.
Be the first time someone's ever done it.
I don't think so. My buddy Derek and I were talking about possibly doing that. Doom 1 on Doom on PlayStation is actually getting up there in price. It's like a $40, $50 game now.
Jeez.
Yeah. You wouldn't think, right? But yeah, so PlayStation 1 is considered the best version of the era. Like I said, one of the most interesting ports is the Saturn. It ended up being based off the PlayStation version. There's no link play in North America. There was in Europe and in Japan. But the game was running at 60 frames per second when they had it up and running originally.
Oh, yeah. The Saturn version, doesn't it have, you can do like a deathmatch link up or something like that?
In the European version and in the Japanese version. The North American version does not have link play.
Oh, even though it says it?
Yeah, there's no link play on Doom for the Saturn.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because it says it on the box.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh. It's right there. While you're looking at that, so originally...
Yeah, it says it's deathmatch ready with 2-player link capabilities, and it's totally going to completely blow you away.
Wow. I don't actually think it was ever instituted.
Is this fake news?
It could be fake news. But the guy who originally was going to create the Saturn port, his name is Jim Bagley, and from Rage Software.
Bagley.
And he had actually utilized the Saturn's 2 VDP graphics display processors and the 2 SH2 main processors so that the game was running at 60 frames per second, double what the PlayStation was running at. But John Carmack saw the port that he was creating, and there was that texture warping.
Right.
As the characters moving through the environment, you saw the walls sort of kind of crater around.
Oh, really?
And he said, no, I want you guys to do this all in software.
He said,
And so it looked better, and when you're just staring at it, but in motion, the game ran at like 12 or 13 frames per second on the regular. So it was herky jerky, and it basically
herky-jerky.
It was not using the Saturn to its strengths. I think you and I could agree. We'll deal with a little texture warping if the game's going to run smoothly.
Oh, of course.
And they totally gimped it. So they sacrificed. They basically used like half of the hardware to create the game. And that's why the Saturn version ended up the way it was. But can you imagine if that game was running at 60 frames per second during the era?
The Saturn one?
And doubling up the PlayStation? I mean, that would have been nuts. But they totally gimped it. So the PlayStation is the one to get. If you want to go back to these games or go back to this game, PlayStation 1, if you can find it, is the best way to do it. Doom was a part of the rating system controversy that was in the early 90s along with Mortal Kombat.
Hella mature.
So that was it was notable for being a part of that. We'll talk about the music a little bit. Bobby Prince was the composer. His credits were almost exclusively with id and 3D Realms, which Apogee turned into 3D Realms, and they made Duke Nukem 3D. So they just changed their name. Many of the songs in the Doom 1 and 2 saga were actually covers of metal and rock songs from the 80s and 90s. The most glaring is At Hell's Gate, which is the first song of the first game, and it's essentially just a cover of a song called Hooked by a thrash metal band called DRI. DRI! And it's beat for beat the same
exactly.
song.
It's funny. I don't remember any of the music from Doom. It's like the thing I forgot about. I don't remember, like, even...
You don't remember the Imp song?
I don't remember any of the music.
No?
No. Totally forgotten.
Some solid tracks in there, Trent. Some solid tracks. But he thought that they were going to be sued over it, and they were never sued.
Well, as long as you change it a little bit, you're fine.
I mean, it was pretty much the same song.
No,
like, almost exactly.
I know. It's a cover.
Yeah. Doom garnered, obviously, universal acclaim. It was voted the best game all time by GameSpot, formerly the videogames.com. There was a funny review from Edge magazine, which I
remember. Edge vaguely.
Edge started right in 1993, right as this game was getting going. And there was a reviewer who said that the gameplay was too simple and that he wished that you could actually become friends with the enemies and form alliances.
Okay, we wanted something that's not even in the game.
Okay, so you want this to be like an adventure game then, right?
It was a joke review? Is that what you said?
No.
I thought you meant...
This is a real review.
Oh, I thought you meant...
He gave it a 7 out of 10. He said the gameplay was too simple and that you're going to get bored of it over time and that he wished that you could actually become friends with the enemies.
What the hell does that... what does that have to do with anything?
And form alliances.
You just say that in like every game.
It's like
Mario's gonna join Bowser.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
You know, Pac-Man's a fine game, but the gameplay gets old. It'd be nice if you could actually make friends with Blinky, and
just sit there and chill
and try to maybe go after Miss Pac-Man together and maybe rope in the Dig Dug guy.
Yeah.
It's like what? I don't know. I just thought that was funny. So, I mean, what can you say about Doom, right? I mean, it's notable for so many reasons. The technical achievement, the online deathmatch inventor, the trailblazer, the sound, the music, the weapons, the atmosphere. The game showcases, as I said, that the gameplay is king. And honestly, I think it came at just the right time for us. It's got to be... I mean, I'm just going to throw this out. It's got to be the top 5 most important games of all time. I don't know if I can say best games. I can't. I'm not going to go there because games evolve and gaming evolves. But in terms of the importance,
but that's when it was like rapidly evolving.
Yeah.
In like the 90s.
Well, when you think about the course of and the trajectory of gaming, especially with first-person shooters, which is the biggest genre.
Yeah.
It has been for 15 years.
Yeah. Just pretty much based off like one game alone.
I mean, it's right up there with Super Mario Brothers. It has to be.
You mean popularity?
Importance.
Oh, importance. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh man. Yeah, it spawned pretty much spawned everything on the computer, like Counter-Strike, and those were huge games and like all that.
Even like a open world adventure game. You got Fallout. That's a first person game, and a lot of the mechanics that you have in those games are.
Yeah, and then the biggest one, Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, what's the other one? Battlefield.
I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just I don't know how else to put this game in its place. I mean, it's one of the most important games of all time. It's one of the best games of all time. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually thought about filling the last spot on the wall with maybe a Doom poster.
Is it the Doom 2 one where he's like on top of all the things, like shooting down on him? Or that's the Doom 1?
No, that's
like
Doom 1.
That's like the cover of the 32X one, right?
Fucking Jaguar, Trenton.
That's what you need. You need the Jaguar cover version up there.
No, we're cropping that out.
Surprise you one day. It's just going to be on the wall.
Oh my god. That'll be the hell will freeze over, literally. No pun intended. Let's take a little trip to Doom 64 quickly before we finish up here with some of our memories. Doom 64 was actually the sequel to Doom 2.
So it's Doom 2.5.
So Doom 1, Doom 2, and Doom 64 are pretty much like a trilogy. It literally picked up right after Doom 2. And what's funny about that is it was exclusive to the 64.
So it's not because I've never I never played it.
You need to.
Sir.
Sorry.
So it's not Doom 3. It's its own game.
It's pretty much Doom 3.
Oh, okay.
It pretty much is Doom 3. It's just that they titled it 64 to kind of fit in line with
yes.
with the 60 with the Nintendo 64 naming sort of etiquette. It takes advantage of that Nintendo 64. It's finally a 3D game. So now we've got an actual full 3D game, full 3D geometry, lighting effects.
Except they turned all the lights off.
Yeah. The characters are still 2D, which I kind of like. I kind of like that they're still 2D characters. It still makes me feel like it's Doom, even though you're working in a 3D play space.
Yeah.
So that part I still like. There's more puzzles. There's room over room maps, so you can actually have a room over another room, where in the original Dooms you couldn't have that. It was very, very, very limited because of the way that they were.
You mean like one level, literally like a one level playing, like a one story.
Yeah,
field.
yeah. Like you can't have like a room above a room because of the way that these binary space partitions work. You can't have a room over a room, whereas with a 3D fully 3D game you can have that. So finally, you were able to have more dynamic, sort of, or more intricate level maps.
Yeah.
Stairs going up and wrapping around and that kind of a thing. Maybe falling through one floor to the bottom floor, stuff like that. In this version is actually based off of, like the PlayStation version, which itself is based off of the Jaguar version.
It hurts so much to say.
Oh man. Anyways, so to bring this back around, it's funny. Some guy in 2012, and this is also something you can view on YouTube, recreated Doom 64 on the 32X.
Like frame for frame,
like the game is
it plays exactly the same. It looks.
Yeah. I don't know how much of the maps are there because again, 32X isn't going to do a fully 3D game, but he basically made the maps for Doom 64 on 32X.
The things people do.
Isn't it crazy? So you guys can check that out. It's actually pretty impressive. It runs smoothly.
It's like, what the fuck?
Why not, right?
What do you mean, why not?
Listen,
you mean why?
As in, like, if I don't have to make it, but I get to see how this whole thing worked out.
No, I understand.
It's fun to see how people can sort of take games that came out on later platforms and reimagine them for prior platforms. A guy made Halo on the 2600.
God bless his
There's
heart.
a version of Halo on the 2600. Can you believe that?
Unfortunately, I can.
Actually, looks pretty good. So, memories of this game, Trent.
Memories.
You want to go first?
Do
you want me to go first?
Man, it's funny you say memories playing this game. My memories were not playing this game.
But a lot of times that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you were like
the
room experiencing it.
No, I know. That's
right?
what it was. It was the man, Jesse Clark. He had it right down the street. It would literally, I'd remember like get out of school. I think we'd get out at like the same time, and then or he'd be home like right before me, and he'd just be like on his computer.
Is this in between games of Killer Instinct?
No.
And Paperboy 2?
No, we didn't play Paperboy 2. No, he was the only person I knew that had a computer that could like handle like a serious game, or the one that was like actually had a.
We all had that one friend that actually had a PC that was powerful enough to play games.
Everyone else just had it it would just like a computer just to sit there and play, open up Microsoft Word, and that was about it. So yeah, I would just go to his place and literally just like watch him play it for like an hour or two, like like every day.
Were you wowed by it?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it was entertaining to watch. I was like, man, this is like this is like serious. I think I only played it like once because I was like just trying to play.
Your hand had an orgasm. You're like, oh, what do I do with the mouse?
Yeah, because it's like you have to use the mouse and like the up. I remember you would use the mouse to move around, but you can use like the up, down, left, and right to kind of
the WASD
also move around, and you click with them. It was just like I need a controller to play, but I pretty much just like watching him play like for like an hour, and it would just be like
the chick was too hot for you to handle.
Yeah, it basically like I was playing it because I was just like, oh yeah, go there, go check that.
We call that single player co-op.
Yeah, yeah, single player co-op. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
It's like when I'm playing Resident Evil and my wife's telling me how to figure out the puzzles.
Yeah, and did it have? I think it had a password system. Did it, or did it have like you just go back into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was back in the day where you had to like write the passwords down on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. The PC version might have had save states, or you might have been able to save after each level, but definitely had password features.
Yeah. I mean that's
like the console versions did at least.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was pretty much because I only played it like a couple times. And it was like too much for me to play on. I was like, I need a controller to play.
That's like when I used to go to Matt Phillips' house and I used to watch him play Warcraft 2. And it was like
Warcraft. Jeez.
Well, I loved watching it. It was so cool to see how like the armies would kind of develop and attack each other. But if I sat down to play it, I would be like, I'd be dead in 5 seconds because I wouldn't know like resource management and what do you build first. It's all about like what do you build to kind of like fight the other army, and you have to build the right things at the right times and set your soldiers up a certain way, and these guys have to go here to defend this area. It was too much for me to manage, but I loved sitting down and watching it.
Yeah. And then the other there's like two other things I remember. So while you're playing, you can pull up like the map would go over the screen, so you could kind of see where you need to go. It like that wire.
Oh, that was one of the things I found. Like they were talking about
that wireframe map.
Some people would play that with just from the wireframe map.
Oh yeah, because you would just figure out where you need to go. Just through that, you're a little triangle arrow, and you just literally just use that and flip back and forth between.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean I don't know that something like that had been used in a game. Wolfenstein didn't have that, right? I don't think so.
Okay, I don't remember. And
then when you would be at like. It had like your character, his face. When you'd get hit, like his face would get like bloody.
Yeah,
there's like, there's a little icon screen. Yeah.
I mean, like blood would start dripping from his whole face until you got more health power ups, and then it would actually he'd straighten out, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever play? Well, there's that picture of you holding Doom for 32X.
the iconic picture of the Doom 32X for Christmas.
We'll have to flash that. And you never played it?
No, I did. I just don't really remember playing it like that much because when I had my 32X, it was like Virtua Fighter and WWF Raw, and like those were the ones I played like all the time. Like I really have no recollection of playing Doom on the 32X. I think it's just because I played Virtua Fighter and Raw like so much that I just don't really remember playing it. I honestly have no memory of playing Doom on the 32X.
Because you were occupied with other games.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's like I definitely I owned it. I have no recollection of ever playing it.
I don't know, man. I don't know why the 32X has such a spot in my heart, because it's you're right, like it's kind of an abomination in a lot of ways, but at the same time it came at just the right time for me, where it was my exposure to like 3D polygonal games.
Yeah, I know. I had that's how I got it.
It was that opening up to that where we only had to spend $100 or $150 to get the experience.
Oh, I got it. I got it for like $50.
Well, yeah, whatever. but it was just special for that, because we were looking forward to it. I mean, my first exposure to Doom, in 4th grade, 5th grade, I started hanging out with a kid in town named Jeremy Figeton. And his parents lived in like the most like yuppie, pretentious baby boomer development part of town called
Baby
Island Woods.
boomer development.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of boomers. Everybody was, I don't know. It was that like keep up with the fucking Jones bullshit, you know?
You remember that bullshit?
You know, where you see what somebody else has and now you got to have it. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing from the 90s.
You gotta one up everybody.
His parents hated each other. I just remember the angst that they had between each other whenever I would go over there.
Solid.
I don't know. The whole community is just a bunch of... My perception of it is they're just a bunch of self-loathing white people that don't have anything really going on. So
Doom, huh?
I don't know. They were just weird. I mean, I'll just come out and say it. They were just kind of weird a little bit. Just a bunch of white people.
Anything else you want to add?
Just a bunch of white people with a bunch of false guilt because they're middle class.
Throw some more dirt. We got some more dirt over there if you want to throw it on them.
They want to stay. They love diversity, but the minute it comes to the doorstep, they want to move right the fuck out.
Don't bring that shit around here.
Yeah. No, I love black people. Okay. I don't know why I'm ranting, but I don't know. They're just
Man, I don't know.
If this is a word, there was a lot of disingenuity that in my purvey. Okay.
Say it. What was that?
On my purvey.
Sure.
My view of everything was that it was just a bunch of bullshit. Jeremy was a fucking totally like spoiled fucking brat.
Whenever you go, Jeremy was a fucking, it's not going to be good. It's not like something's positive is going to come out of that. I know.
He was a fucking spoiled brat. He was kind of a, I don't know. He was a snot-nosed kid. He got everything that he wanted, I
don't know how he would ever listen to this, but I hope he does.
I don't give a shit if he listens to it. I don't give a fucking shit.
I don't know if there's any way to ever get to him, but hopefully.
Whatever.
Oh, man.
I think he had a rapper name at one point. He was the first Jewish rapper ever, besides Modest Yahoo. But anyways.
Anything else you want to add? Let's get it all out now. He's been holding this shit in for 25 years.
He never let me play.
There it is.
He never let me play.
That's what it really is.
His mom would say, Jeremy.
Just like that, too.
Let Sal play. Yeah, mom. And he would just, and I would just sit there and I'd be like, I want to play. But he wouldn't let me. So, sorry, Jeremy, but this is why I'm freaking out right now.
Never let me play.
But I first discovered Doom at his house.
He had the PC.
He was the kid. He was the friend that had the PC.
He had the creative sound speakers on it too.
Yeah, the sound
with
slash
the sound blaster
slash
card.
Finger blaster.
Yeah,
sound card.
The creative 3D blaster card.
Yeah. It must have been, I don't know if it was like late 94 or if it was like early 95, but I remember him having Doom. He had a game called Raptor. I don't know if you remember Raptor. It was an Apogee software.
Raptor as in like the dinosaur raptor?
Yeah, but it was a top-down shooter. You were in like a Top Gun sort of like F-15 fighter, and you were shooting, going up the screen or, vertical scrolling. And you had all like the rocket launchers and stuff. It was pretty cool looking game. and so I would of course watch him play that, and then I would watch him play Doom. He had it was funny because I would watch him do that, and then of course I would watch him pull out his Sears video arcade. He had like an Atari 2600 that was sold at Sears, and it was called like the Sears Video Arcade.
Sure.
It wasn't a clone console. It was Atari kind of did a licensing deal.
Licensed out to Sears.
With Sears, and it was
an exclusive.
It was like an exclusive system, but I mean, it played all the Atari 2600 cartridges. And I remember he had.
So you were going back to the Atari 2600.
Isn't it funny?
Then?
It was like we were like top of the line, like cutting edge.
Let's play
Doom.
some Breakout.
Yeah, and then I remember he would play. I think it's called like King of the Mountain.
So you'd watch him play the Atari 2600?
Yes, King of the Mountain and Congo Bongo.
Even though there was 2 controller ports?
Yeah. I know. He probably purposefully only got one controller.
You know there's 2 controller ports on there. Yeah, I know.
He's like, yeah, I know. You know. Like he was so glued that you couldn't get his attention. But anyways, a couple of months later, after I had seen it at his house, I got my 32X, and I've told the story how when I first got the 32X, how we couldn't figure out how to get it set up with the clips.
Oh, the ones you don't need.
And I actually bloodied my hands.
Yeah.
From the clips because we were trying to fit them in.
The ones you don't need.
Right. And then we called Sega of America, and they were like,
yeah, I remember the story where you were like, their guy was like, throw them out, and then he's like, oh, you just throw the system out too.
he goes, you don't need the clips. Just put the system in and see if it works.
And then I was like, yeah, actually, you don't need the system either. Just throw that out with it.
But I remember.
Bless you.
Oh my God. I remember we're still on the phone with him, and we plugged it in, and when I said like it fired up, and I remember hearing the music, and you see that basically the Doom guy on screen. You see the first person, and then he picks up that shotgun and he just starts blowing guys away with it. And that in that moment when I saw it, we had the console TV, the Magnavox console TV,
32 inches of wonder,
hooked up with the coaxial RF, right?
You had to have the RF.
But the flash on the screen of that Doom logo, and then watching him pick up the shotgun and shoot somebody, I feel like I was like almost drooling.
You mean you were just watching like the demo mode where it was just kind of going?
It was the attract screen.
Yeah.
And you see this guy going through the level and shooting all the baddies or whatever.
All the baddies.
And I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, wait a minute. I have Doom in my living room.
Doom in my room.
It was like this shit is on. Like this is really gonna happen.
I'm not watching anymore. I'm actually playing.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna play it. I played Doom on 32X for probably 6 months.
How many times did you beat it?
I don't know, but I just played that game to death. I mean, I don't know how many times I played through it, and it's the one I remember. When people talk about the 32X, the music's terrible, this and that. To me, like that's the music I want to hear when I'm playing the game, is like the 32X soundtrack, because that's the one
crunchy Sega chip.
Yeah, and I know it's not the best, but it's the one that I was like 11 years old playing this game.
So you didn't really know what the best version was.
And it didn't matter that it was letterboxed. None of that mattered. The gameplay was smooth, and to this day people will still say that. I mean, most reviewers who are looking at this are going to say, yes, it's a smooth game, and that's its redeeming quality, and that's why it's still playable today, because you can go back to that game through the grainy graphics and through the as they call the farty sound effects. It's still Doom, and that was what we got. You paid $150. It was packed in my version.
Really?
Yep.
They made a pack-in version of Doom?
Yeah, I had Doom packed in.
Was it in the box, or was it like taped to the box? If it's not on the box, it was like in the 32X box.
It was in the 32X box, yeah. Yeah, I never got a box for my copy of Doom.
That's weird.
At least I don't remember getting a copy, an actual boxed copy of Doom inside of it. But that was the first game I got because it was the game that I wanted. It was the game when I got my 32X. I wanted Doom.
I must have wanted it because I got it for Christmas.
But I bought a 32X for Doom, and I knew about Virtua Racing. I wanted Virtua Racing. I wanted Virtua Fighter, which hadn't come out yet. I wanted those games, but I bought it for Doom, and it was an amazing experience to be able to play that. I didn't need a $1,200 PC. I had it in my living room on my Sega Genesis. I mean that's pretty cool to be able to spend $100 or whatever it was and have Doom in your living room. Like, I didn't care that it was 17 levels instead of 22 or 23. It didn't matter to me. You got that experience. You got the shotgun effects. You got that 3D world. It was all there. It shouldn't have existed. I was like, this shouldn't exist on my Genesis. Obviously, you had the 32X, but I was like, this is sorcery.
This is wizardry.
And the only shitty part about the 32X is there's no password system, so you can't get the true ending unless you play through the whole game. And there's some long levels that you have to be kind of careful moving in and out of.
That's where that pause button comes in handy.
So last year, I played through half the game, and then I paused it and went to bed.
And
woke up the next morning, and it was frozen.
Oh yeah. Well, the next morning, that's you're gambling, man.
That's
on you. That's on you.
I was, but what was I gonna do? Just turn it off? I mean, it was the same result, so I might as well go for it.
I mean, that's on you. It's in God's hands now.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine, but it's still a game I can go back to. Maybe it's just me because I played it as a kid, but I love Doom on the 32X. I do want to get the PlayStation version. Because you're
really into Doom that much, huh? Where you want the PlayStation version?
Absolutely, because the Saturn version sucks. It's unplayable.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we can try it later if you want, but the 32X version is better than the Saturn version.
I kind of just want to see the Doom 64 version. They did have the 4-player deathmatch, right?
Which one?
Doom 64. I'm pretty sure that was one.
No, I don't think so.
No?
Nope, I don't think there was a multiplayer mode in Doom 64.
You're lying. Fake news.
I could be wrong. If it's true, then you can edit it in post and put it in here. But
no, I'd rather leave you wrong forever.
Wrong forever. Yeah.
So then, when we get more popularity, people will comment and say that you're wrong. That's what I live for.
Just the hate.
Yeah, the future hate.
Yeah. Somewhere in the future, Trenton is getting off.
The hopefulness of hate is what I live for.
The hopefulness of hate. Yeah, so that would align you with Hitler, actually. Congratulations. Wolfenstein 3D, which had Hitler in it, is inspiration for this game.
All comes back.
Yeah, it's full circle. So, all right. Well, with that, if we've doomed it out,
yeah, so to speak.
But Doom 64 is another one that I don't think it's enough credit. It's a game that needs to be played, and they just remade Doom 64 on
I just
all
saw
the
that.
modern consoles in end of March. It's just funny that
that's the version.
Yeah, they basically came out with these new versions of Doom 64. Console Wars just did Doom at Super Nintendo versus 32X.
I think it's because that new Doom just came out, so it's kind of like
what
in
it
the
is?
zeitgeist.
You know what it is? It's coronavirus central. It's like darkest before dawn. Everybody's feeling gloomy, and this is the game that we want to talk about.
Gloomy and doomy.
We want to talk about Doom because we're all feeling the.
If that's how you want to look at it.
Yeah,
but not the Dungeon of Doom.
No, nobody wants
with
to talk
Kevin
about
Sullivan.
No, Kevin Sullivan
and the Shark.
No.
And the Zodiac, aka Brother Brudai.
Wasn't Kamala in there too?
Yeah, I don't think he wasn't Kamala.
No. I know he was something else. But
what a squad!
I'm excited to play Doom 64. I've played one level of it, and I loved that first level.
I love it.
So I can't imagine that it's not going to get better from there. But
as long as the gameplay's solid, that's all that matters.
Doom is one of those games where you just pick it up and you instantly have a smile on your face. You just want to kill shit,
Fuck shit up.
And you're going to be decent enough at it. Doom isn't really too terribly hard of a game. It's just, you just have to pay attention to what you're doing and not kind of Be
There's
stupid.
yeah, I mean, there's kind of memorization. Well, in terms of like finding like the keys and everything, it's like once you play it through a bunch of times, you can kind of get to where you need to go right away.
Right.
After you kind of know where like the keys are and everything, so you can kind of skip through those like the beginning levels.
Right. Right.
Just boom, 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 boom.
I just can't say enough positive about Doom. So, dust off your copies if you got them, guys, or find, either I would recommend either the 32X version or the PlayStation 1 version.
32X version is probably the cheapest one too.
Probably. Yeah, you can find it.
I don't think it's
maybe 10 or $15.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's more than $20 for a loose copy.
If you just want to get that Doom experience, the 32X version is fine. Chances are, if you already have a 32X, you probably already have Doom.
Yeah, or if you got a compact Presario in your attic, get it all out. Get that Creative Sound Blaster 3D Pro sound card in there.
All right. Well, play Doom. I think that's the point that we're trying to make. Doom is one of the most important games of all time, and it needs to be celebrated. So, with that, enjoy. Be safe. Be really safe, especially during this coronavirus. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it turbo, guys.